sewer lines, sanitary sewer lines that is, and storm sewer lines. There is a daytime closure of Zieglerville Road proposed to install a storm drain inlet. That's tentatively scheduled for tomorrow. If we get heavy rains tonight, I'd anticipate that would be delayed. We worked with the township staff last week to update the map of development projects for the township website. I believe they already have that up. Little information for the board members. The Lower Frederick Township back in 1980 received a grant from the Pennsylvania Department of Community Affairs through the Land and Water Conservation Fund towards purchase of one of the two lots that comprise Coble Park. It's back in 1980, it's a few years ago now. The grant documents contained a clause that the municipality shall not convert the use of the property to anything other than public outdoor recreation use. 20 years later, a maintenance facility was erected to store materials for the Public Works Department, and a portion of that structure is located on the original property that was purchased using the Land and Water Conservation Fund. Last year, jump forward another 17 years here, DCNR conducted an inspection of the grant-funded property and notified Lower Frederick Township that the portion of that original property being used for public works storage was in violation of the grant agreement. To resolve the violation, the township first completed a lot line revisions so that the maintenance facilities will no longer be within that reconfigured parcel. Next, the township intends to use open space A from the Arcadia subdivision as replacement lands to put into the DCNR program. We have been working closely with the solicitor's office to satisfy the DCNR requirements. This process began in November of 2017 and has been quietly progressing. This month, project information has been transmitted to the PHMC, that's the Pennsylvania Historic and Museum Commission, and various planning agencies for comment. It went to DVRPC, it went to the County Planning Commission, and it was sent to the Township Planning Commission to be discussed at their upcoming meeting. In coming months, the configuration of the land to be dedicated must be finalized with Metropolitan, and the proposal discussed further at a public meeting to accept comments before being sent to DCNR for consideration and approval will continue to keep the board advised of progress. Then finally on my report, the sewer extension presentation. I want to thank Crystal Gilchrist for testing out the presentation slideshow, PowerPoint presentation there, getting us ready for the month of December. We're currently preparing a presentation for the month of December to provide an overview of the proposed sanitary sewer extension on Fulmer and Riverside in Springmount. Now, understand there have been no revisions or modifications to those plans since the permits were received in August of 2017. This will be an informational presentation for interested residents. Those are all the items on this evening's report, but I'm happy to address any questions on these or other township engineering matters.
I have a quick question. So the escrow on the first page was the escrow. You mentioned a couple outstanding items. What does that include?
It was in the report that I sent to him, but there were some omissions on the as-built plans that needed to be addressed. We needed documentation that the PennDOT permit had been closed. In 2015, there was a low point over the grinder pump, and we needed to make sure that that had been addressed. Just a couple of odds and ends to clean up, and they've just been sitting out there for 3 years. They may have been addressed, I just don't have any documentation in my file to affirm that they have.
Thank you.
Bob Burns, Centerville Road. Is there any discussion about moving that informational up, or are we set in stone for December?
I haven't had any discussion about changing the date. We originally set it towards December. I've got a draft started in PowerPoint, but I don't have anything to show you today.
No, I understand. I think I asked the board previously if they could move this up so that we weren't, working within the Thanksgiving and Christmas holidays, and move it up. And we do have some residents from Riverside here with us tonight that might want to ask some questions as well. I do have the advertisement that was placed in the paper back in 2013. I'll bring up here explains how that was all designed and how the benefit assessments and everything else came up. But I guess, my question is the board able to consider moving that date up, or are we locked in stone for December?
Well, we were locked in stone for December because we wanted to get this thing moving, so the residents could come out and talk.
Right. This is the June 13th, I think it is, or 19th, 2013 advertisement that was done.
Sorry, is this an agenda item or is this a general?
Talking about, she just talked about Abington Riverside. Didn't she? Collection system? That's what this is.
I have a couple.
So this is the notice of advertisement for the Act 537 plan from 2013.
Thank you.
I do have one more comment. So to address what Bob said, I think it's important that we do have a date selected ASAP so that we can advertise it, so that we can make sure everybody has an understanding and they put it on calendars ahead of time. So if we can work on a date sooner rather than later, I think that'll help out.
And any date the board desires, I had it on my calendar to be concurrent with the regular December meeting. December 4th.
December 4th. December 4th.
December 4th? All right.
Yep.
Okay. And then as far as the information that I just gave you there with the benefit assessment, Carol spoke at the last planning commission meeting. I had asked her a question then, and she said that she felt that she was hearing from the board of supervisors that the board was not willing or has not committed, I should say, to issuing a benefit assessment as far as for putting that new line in there. So if we don't issue a benefit assessment for that cost gets added to the $10 million that we already have a loan on, which is going to make that payment even higher than the $643 that it is now. So the benefit assessment almost has to be done on there. And with the residents that you have here from Riverside tonight, one of their questions has been, how much is it going to cost me? And, they see this advertisement that was in the paper from 2013, whether they saw it then or not, it's black and white. So they need some clarification from the board as to how that's going to happen.
I think we've already stated before that the connection fee is $7,400.
Yes.
It's approximately $7,400, and then I think our quarterly sewage rates are $175, and then I think there's also some plumbing work that's required, so that is going to be the cost.
Now, the benefit assessment, if you read that article I just gave you there, calls out $28,500 per customer. It's usually done on a lineal foot of your property. I believe the way Carol did it, she thought she had 100 connections divided into 2.8 for the project, which came out to $28,000. So that's why the article says $28,500. You just can't go and put all that piping and everything in and not charge somebody. Okay? Their property value is going to go up. Here again, whether you're charging them the full $28,500 or you're giving them a reduced figure or whatever it is, that's fine. You just can't throw that money away and add it to our debt. We'll never be able to pay the debt.
So that I get you clear, you're suggesting that we charge everybody $30,000 extra? Is that what you're suggesting, Bob? Do I understand you correctly?
What you have there is you have the past board who obviously put that through. I don't know, Larry, were you here at that point in time?
On the date of what?
No, you
13,
took
no.
You took office in January
No,
14th.
it was not.
So the article, the advertisement is for the Act 537 plan that was passed and that was adopted in 2013, 2014. And it says properties may be subject to benefit assessment fees and/or adjusted rental rates to fund collection system expansion costs, which are estimated at, and then there's a per property value for all the different kinds of sewering that was proposed within the Act 537. You asked about this at the last meeting. I believe I made a statement that when we prepared that Act 537, we left a lot of doors open because we didn't know what was going to be in years to come. So we left a door open that if the board wanted to charge additional fees, wanted to set up districts, wanted to charge benefit assessments, they had that ability. That doesn't mean that that is what is going to happen. The board took out a significant loan, and not this board, but boards before them took out a significant sized loan, and portions of that loan are going towards the construction of the new system. It's completely up to this board whether or not they want to include a benefit assessment charge. What I've heard them say so far is they're not inclined to do that. And I'm going to let the board continue from there because I'm certainly not in a position to speak for them. But I don't think anybody ever anticipated that property owners would be charged $28,500 per property as a benefit assessment. That's not how it was done in Zieglerville in 1999, and I never heard anybody planning it that way here.
And we, the board that was with me, Bob and Ron, had said we weren't going to charge that. So that's why when I questioned you, where did you get this information and why do you spread this? Because we said we were not going to do that. Okay?
I don't have any record of you saying that. It's not.
Oh yeah, I said it right here in a meeting.
It's not in the minutes, Derek.
But you're saying it right now, so now you have it.
But I'm giving you the facts.
We were
I was
never
asking
gonna
you,
do
where's
that.
the facts? There's the facts right there. It's in black and white.
Yeah.
You are
13. But what I'm trying to tell you is when Bob and Ron and I worked together, we said we were not going to charge a road frontage. Okay? We were not.
Okay, so if you're not charging by the road frontage like Carol designed it, that's how she had it for the 537 plan. She has 100 connections divided by the 2.8 million cost, which is $28,000 as a benefit assessment. So you can either do it by lineal footage or you can do it by the amount of connections. If you don't do it at all, how are the sewer customers going to pay that bill without an increase? There's a Roger Phillips did the self-liquidating debt report. Unfortunately, that self-liquidating debt report is 2 years out of whack because the plant's 2 years out of whack. Okay? What you guys really need to understand is that self-liquidating debt report, as we're looking at getting new financing or whatever, if you don't take into consideration the self-liquidating debt report, okay, and you're going to add these additional costs, I understand there's money, you know, I don't know what it is, 1.8 left, or maybe 2 left to do that area, and that's based on the 643,000. The costs are still going to go up. And the one thing that I want to ask Carol, and we can wait until the informational, but she had mentioned at the Planning Commission that the upper end of Riverside that already is tied in out to Boulder, they would be tied into this new line. So there wouldn't be any additional connection fees for them because we're running a new line, they're just going to tie them back into it. So you're not going to get another 7405 on them, they've already paid. So it's only those people from there down.
Thank you.
Well, we'll look into this thing before the meeting, okay? And, we'll move on. Thank you.
You done, Harry?
I am, thank you.
Okay. Next item is under police. In the packet you have the police chief's report. And just an update, we will be having our meeting with Ron Cern and the other municipalities regarding regional police. October 11th, meeting at 11 o'clock here in Township. So that was confirmed just the other day.
Sorry, Kevin, is that a public meeting or is that or not?
I believe that's just with Ron and the other municipalities.
Okay.
I don't have anything under Public Works. Under my report, I have traffic calming surveys. I guess those results were due today, or
Yes, they're in today. We have a total of 53 votes between the Survey Monkey and what was handed in here at the office. 33 or 4. This speed humps and 20 against. Then the homeowners association did their own survey. They had 45 for and 25 against.
I'm sorry, Bob, can you repeat that?
Sure.
I'm sorry.
Start all over again?
No, just the second.
The second one, the HOA, 45 for the speed humps and 20 against it. 25, I'm sorry.
45 for, 25 against, just clarifying, correct?
45 and 25.
Thank you.
45 and 25.
Thank you.
The recommendation of the traffic calming committee to the board of supervisors would be that we would like the board of supervisors to take this under advisement, that we approve and request the speed humps to be put in. So we're leaving it up to you guys to decide what's next.
I'd like to ask Carol and or Crystal to reiterate for us and for the public the guidelines and parameters for the survey and the survey results and what it all means.
I can speak to the survey. The traffic calming committee devised a very simple survey. We didn't want it to be complicated. We wanted it to be as easy as possible for people to decide what they wanted to, how they wanted to vote. We created a 4-page brochure that showed a little bit about what a speed hump is, what the problems are. It showed where the speed humps would be placed on Village Drive. It distinguished between a speed hump, which is like the long lower table, versus a speed bump, which is the one you find in shopping centers that are making your car bounce. And these are definitely speed humps that we're talking about here, so they'll be not as noisy and not as difficult to traverse. It talked about a few seconds delay in emergency service response due to having to slow down for the speed humps, and it is a very small delay. And then the last page was a link to the Survey Monkey to vote online, or to cut it out and send it in to the Township building as your response that way. One question was, what is your address? So that we knew that we got one response per household. And then the second question is, do you support the speed humps, yes or no? It was very simple, and that's all there was to the survey.
Right. So, and how many homes received the survey?
243.
243. So out of 243, we got 53 responses. I guess what I want to know is that sufficient number for us to move ahead with something?
Maybe.
Well,
Depends.
maybe it depends.
So the traffic,
The guidelines aren't hardcore requirements, they're guidelines. So, yeah.
and so the Pennsylvania Department of Transportation has a traffic calming manual, and we've been using that as our guidebook in this process. And by using PennDOT materials as our guidebook, it gives us some shield of liability, where we're using standards that are created by a larger agency. The Pennsylvania Traffic Calming Handbook, I copied page 20 out of that book because it specifically addressed surveys. It said once the traffic calming plan is completed, a second neighborhood survey should be conducted. A 70% approval threshold should again be used to indicate continued community support for the traffic calming project. So we're approaching that threshold. We didn't actually succeed in crossing that threshold, and I guess it becomes a judgment call whether or not the community is comfortable proceeding. From what I just heard relayed tonight, of those 53 surveys, you have a 62% approval rate.
I guess what I'm more concerned about is the 53 compared to the 243 households. And if we're going to put something in that we have 33 in favor of out of 243, that's what I'm more concerned about.
Sure.
Yes, I'm sorry, Linda.
Ms. Jansen, Simmons Road. I know you're only saying the 53 votes. That's what came into the township. Now, I don't know, I've not seen these surveys, but if you take into account what the townhomes did, 45 for and 25 against, add that to the 53 votes, you come up with 143 votes altogether.
That's not necessarily true, because they could have done.
They could have, like I said, I don't know if there was if there might have been double votes, but in other words, it's not quite as dire as the 53 votes. When you-
So here's our challenge, is the townhouse community asked their people to do their survey after we asked everyone to do our survey. So we have these kind of two battling surveys, and it makes it difficult to have an accurate understanding of how people really felt. And some did some, and some did the other, and some did both. And the questions were not exactly the same in both.
Yes.
Together, bring the road. The fact of the matter is, the majority of people responding to the survey are in favor of speed bumps.
To the township survey.
Both, 33 for the township, 45 against.
Yes.
Tina Valenti, Goshen Road. I have a question, because I didn't see that survey. I live in the Cedar Hills portion of that townhouse development. Was that also opened up to the Cedar Hill portion? Because I'm just concerned why everyone's addressing the townhomes that are in the HOA versus the entire townhouse community. And why are we just looking at Village and not all the other roadways that are in that townhouse community? Because I can tell you that there's many roads that are not in the paid HOA that are affected by traffic issues.
This is and we only wanted to stay with this development because this is the one that we are having complaints with, of speeders and people passing the buses, so.
I can tell you there have been a lot of members of my community that have also.
Okay. What we done is, they started coming in, they wanted speed bumps over on Main Street. We wanted to find out if this would work at one place first, okay? So we're gonna.
No, I was just wondering, because like my part of the community also passes through there, I just didn't know why that wasn't extended towards both townhouses.
So, Tina, is it Tina?
Dana.
Oh, sorry, Tina.
That's
So,
okay.
I live on Goshen Road myself. I see the same exact traffic issues. Now, the traffic calming committee was created before I came on board, so on this board, but the traffic calming committee was told to focus on one spot, and they focused, as Terry mentioned, on where we were hearing a lot of comments from residents, and that was from the HOA area. So that's why we issued the survey strictly to them. The traffic calming committee at a later time might take a look at Goshen, and I would be in favor of that as well, because again, I do see the traffic concerns that you're seeing as well.
Just to make a comment, also being first owner of St. Mary's, I would also hope that maybe we consider the area in front of St. Mary's, considering I watched an accident occur with my 3 young children because of people traveling through there quickly and pedestrians moving across it at that time. So, but I appreciate you explaining that. That does make sense. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Just general questions on traffic. Did we decide on the school bus sign? Was that as part of the outcome? Was that from the last meeting, we had talked about purchasing school bus signs for Spring Mountain Road because of the speeding issue as well. That was going to go to the traffic
Yes.
committee as well.
We were gonna talk to the school
Oh.
and